me, that shit is weightless. I was destined for greatness because I put in the work. This for the kids in their bedroom who just don't know what they worth. Yo.
Hey guys, what is up? It is your boy Credenda, and today I will be bringing you an all-new Jayce rune page and build for patch 9.2. With the addition of Halo Blades and its new synergy with auto attack resets, a new rune page option has been opened up for Jayce in patch 9.2, which allows for all new combos, more scaling, or actual scaling, let's be honest boys, and a good early game to kind of match and keep up with the current tempo of the meta. In my opinion, it's the best rune page for mid Jayce when mastered, but it is hard to use, and I would say that before you use this rune page, go into practice tool, try it out after I show you the combos, all that good jazz, just to see for yourself what capabilities this build really has, this rune page really has, and how you can really up your mid lane Jayce level, I guess, with this rune page. And so without further ado, let's get right into the video. So the $1 million question, right? Credenda, why are you running Halo Blades? I don't see any other Jayce players or Jayce mid lane players running Halo Blades, so why are you running Halo Blades? So to start and to begin, I guess we have to really understand, if you guys are unfamiliar with the rune and the changes to the rune lately, how it works and what this actually provides to Jayce, right? So Halo Blades, you gain 110% attack speed when you attack an enemy champion for up to 3 attacks. This also applies, and it doesn't say here, on your first attack. So if you have Halo Blades up and you auto attack, that first auto attack is going to have the Halo Blades attack speed associated with it, which is really, really key. No more than 2 seconds can elapse between attacks or this effect will end. So this really isn't a problem for Jayce because he attacks so fast with his hypercharge anyway that you're usually not going to miss out on that little window, but it is something to keep in mind and adds to the skill cap of this mastery. The cooldown, 4 seconds out of combat. So again, out of combat, you can't be being hit by things, you can't be auto-attacking the wave, so it does take a little bit of management in order to properly use the rune, but the uptime, when managed properly, is absolutely insane and far greater than Electrocute, which is the other keystone in this tree. It's a 20 second cooldown, whereas this is a 4-second cooldown if managed properly, so more uptime. Attack resets increase the attack limit by 1. This is really key and something they added in the previous patches, or the recent patches. Attack resets increasing the attack limit by 1 allows you to auto and then hypercharge auto, and you can get all 3 hypercharge autos off with the Halo Blades attack speed. So you can auto once at 1.4 attack speed, and then auto the next 3 times at around 3.6, 3.8 attack speed, which allows for some insane canceling and some insane combos, which I'll show you guys at the end of this video. Allows you to temporarily exceed the attack speed limit, which is back to the point that I failed to mention earlier, which was with Jayce hypercharge, since it takes you immediately to 2.5% attack speed, or not percent, 2.5 attack speed rather. It allows you to exceed that with the attack speed limit cap thing here in the Halo Blades, and allow you to go to 3.6, 3.8 attack speed, and allow you to attack so fast. And again, with the combos I'll be showing you at the end of this video, it just allows for so much flexibility. To really demonstrate Halo Blades and to kind of show you guys what I mean by that, I'm now going to show you 2 clips from games that I've played where I use Halo Blades to burst my opponent where they don't think I can burst them, and allows me to cancel autos that much more effectively. So here they are. Like, I don't have that big of a lead, but I have a big enough lead that... Ooh, spacing is actually pretty clean. Those are just 2 examples of the many new combos you can do with Halo Blades Jayce, and I'll put more of those combos at the end of the video, and the timestamps for everything in this video will be in the description below, so just check those out if you want to kind of skim through this video just to find the things that you want to find. But before I go into that, I'm going to first go into the rune page, the individual minor rune choices that I make throughout the rune page, and I guess why I make those choices, and some other options that I could see being potentially viable depending on your playstyle. So the first minor rune that I'll be going over is Taste of Blood. I think Taste of Blood is one of the best options in this tree, although the other options are pretty decent on Jayce. It allows you to just sustain through those harder matchups, get that oppressive sustain in matchups where you're really poking them down, and just allows you to stay a little more topped off throughout laning phase, and I just really like it as a minor tree mastery. The second option I run is Zombie Ward. I think this provides a lot of utility in a meta where the vision is very sparse. There's not really a lot of wards on the map, you know what I'm saying? So I really like the utility that Zombie Ward provides. It also provides you a little extra bonus damage, bonus magic damage after you do kill a ward, so it gives you a little bit of burst damage, but mainly for the utility is why I take Zombie Ward, and this is obviously subject to change. All of this is subject to change with the coming patches and with, I guess, more playtime on the patch that I have, so I can give you guys a better, I guess, rundown of what the best runes are. But I can see an argument for Ghost Pour, I can see an argument for Eyeball, and I'll go into those options a little bit later. The third minor rune I take in the Domination tree is Relentless Hunter. I take this because it allows a fair bit of roaming power. It also allows you to blend this movement speed with the other aspects of the rune page, which I'll go into in a moment, and other aspects of the build. But essentially, that raw out of combat movement speed is just so good for positioning, so good for roaming, and synergizes a lot with the build. So I'll go into more of that later. Relentless Hunter, though, is a very good choice, is a strong choice, but not the strongest choice, I would say, for Jayce in particular, because a lot of his abilities are AoE, so you're not really getting the maximum effectiveness from the healing, but I can see it as a potential choice to the other options. Next, we have other Domination options, so I'll just go through the other options that you can take and the ones that I've been kind of mentioning throughout this video. So, Cheap Shot, you can take it because your Q does, in fact, impair their movement, and it does deal that extra bit of bonus true damage. However, I don't really think it's that valuable. I think if you are going to go something that enhances your melee form pressure, your melee form all in, you should go Sudden Impact, because it does give you the lethality, the magic penetration, and that just works so well with Jayce's kit because he does magic and physical damage. So that would be my go-to if I were to pick another option besides Taste of Blood, or maybe into some melee matchups where you want that pressure, that burst, but all up to you. The second defensive option I would like to, I guess, go into a little bit more is Eyeball Collection. I used to be taking this pretty much every game, but I've recently switched over to Zombie War just because I don't like the lack of vision on the map and I want a little more utility in my games. However, I do see that Eyeball Collection is that, passive option, that option that allows you to snowball a little bit, just a little bit harder, so I can see the value in running this mastery. Same with Ghost Poro. I can see the early game value. I can see the value of walking back there, getting that vision and getting that extra AD for the early laning phase. However, I do think that not every game is going to allow you to actively place your Ghost Poros and grant the maximum effectiveness of it or from it. So I think that this option requires a little bit more management on your part, so I would avoid taking this option if you're not really familiar with Ghost Poro, or if you know it's going to be a game where you don't really have a lot of pressure in your jungler, or the pressure to really invade and put deep vision in their jungle. Again, with Relentless Hunter, it is a good choice for sustain. I think it is strong, especially later as you want a little more sustain off the wave, or maybe in fights. But I do think Relentless Hunter, just with the build, just with the meta, just with the ability to be other places faster, I personally find that to be a little more valuable than the Ravenous Hunter, but that's just my opinion, and those are the Domination masteries. Next, we have the secondary options, and for my secondary options, I prefer the Sorcery tree, because I think it gives you the two best minor runes for that early and mid-game scaling. It's not as good early game as something like Inspiration or those other options, but I'll get into those options a little bit later. So the first minor rune that I choose for Sorcery is Manaflow Band. It just gives you that mana sustain that Jayce really needs and wants. It gives you 250 bonus mana, or maximum mana rather, so you are able to do more of your combos in lane and more of your combos throughout the game. Just a really, really feel-good rune for Jayce, and a must-have if you really want to have that pressure early to mid-game in terms of mana sustain and mana in that regard. I will say Nullifying Orb is a very strong minor rune. It's really strong into 4, maybe 5 AP comps, but it does limit the amount of mana regeneration you have, which can feel a little bad in my personal experience, but you're totally down to, or totally open to taking Nullifying Orb against multiple AP threats. The next rune I run, and one that you guys might not really understand or agree with, is Celerity. And I can see a very strong argument for either of these other runes, Absolute Focus and Transcendence, because they are both very, very strong on Jayce. But Celerity recently got changed from 8% of all movement speed bonuses to 10% of all movement speed bonuses, or the effectiveness rather is increased by 10% of all movement speed bonuses. So this is actually really, really sleeper on Jayce in my opinion, because every time you form switch, right, you're getting that flat movement speed. Every time you get a kill, you're getting the Relentless Hunter movement speed. Every time you E, you're getting that movement speed. So there's just so many movement speed steroids on Jayce that Celerity actually has a ton of effectiveness with his kit and with the build I also run, which I'll go into later. Although Transcendence does give you that 10% CDR, it's not really available until around mid-game, after which point maybe not his most effective time has passed, but you definitely want to transition, or you want to use runes which will give you both early and mid-game effectiveness in this meta, because without early game you're kind of screwed. I do think, though, that Transcendence has a place with Jayce. That CDR is obviously very nice, and you can run it if you want. Same with Absolute Focus. It did recently get nerfed this patch, which is why I've been kind of shying away from it as my go-to, because it used to just be so strong, and it still is very strong, especially with Hail of Blades. The extra AD on every single auto attack is super helpful and useful. However, I really think that this build just feels so much better with the Celerity. At times you're getting 20, 35 flat movement speed from Celerity alone with your Ghost Blade, with your form switches, with your gate. So I just think personally it makes it feel a lot crispier. And now we're going to go into the other sorcery options. So the other sorcery options, as I've already mentioned, Transcendence, Nullifying Orb, and Absolute Focus, will be the Scorch. I think this one doesn't even work on Jayce. River Walking has some usefulness, but I think just in this lane-focused meta, you really want that Scorch. You really want that extra damage, that extra punching power in your trades. So if I did have to choose another option, I probably would choose Manaflow Band and Scorch, or Manaflow Band and Absolute Focus, just because I think Manaflow Band at the current moment is very nice for mana sustain, as Jayce does not have a lot of mana sustain options in the current patch. However, that might change with the new Essence Reaver, so stay tuned for the next video I'll be releasing once the new items change, once Storm Razor changes and everything like that. But those are the other sorcery options I could consider. Another secondary tree, or other secondary trees I could consider, there are a variety of options, and you don't necessarily have to go Manaflow Band or Sorcery Tree in general, right? You can go Inspiration with the Biscuits and Cosmic. So essentially what this gives you is, instead of a Celerity or a Transcendence rune or an Absolute Focus rune that you'd be running, you get the Biscuits, and the Manaflow Band. You get the Biscuits and the Cosmic Insight. So the Biscuits are a better early game form of Mana Band, essentially. They still give you that maximum mana cap, but they don't give you the percentage regen over time, which is a little worse come mid game, but very strong in the laning phase. And then the 5% CDR from Cosmic Insight on your item CDR, your summoner spell CDR, is just really nice for the early game. Very much an early game focused page with this kind of a page, but one that could still be very viable. Outside of this, you can run something like Triumph and Bloodline, or maybe Bloodline Coup, but they've touched up this minor rune a lot. They've nerfed it not into the ground, but it's not as effective as it used to be. Triumph is a really feel-good rune. It's very nice, but again, with this kind of a page, you don't really have the mana sustain that's really crucial on Jayce, especially for pressuring. So on that note, I don't really like to take those, and I prefer the Sorcery Celerity option. As for the Rune Shards, since Jayce's auto attack actually got fixed to be a lot more smooth, a lot less clunky, as you guys may be used to playing Jayce in the last 3 months, since those changes have gone live, you don't really need to take any attack speed to make him feel good anymore. It feels crispy, it feels amazing, so I just run the full AD, or I guess Adaptive Force, with these 2 first shards, and then I run either magic resistance or armor depending on the lane matchup that I'm up against. I can see an argument for maybe 10% attack speed, maybe the CDR if you want to scale a little bit later into the game. However, I do feel like early game is very important in this meta. It's very important to establish early game dominance, establish a lane lead, so I think these shards are probably the best shards to run if you're running Jayce in the current meta. And now we have the build path, the build that synergizes best with Hail of Blades. So first we're going to start off with the essentials, or the starting items, right? So in every game, I start Longsword 3 pots and 1 trinket, yellow trinket. The reason I do this is because I really like that early game Dirk. I really like being able to back with 700, 750 gold and be able to get that really strong power spike, maybe with a couple consumables, maybe a control ward. I just think it, in a solo queue setting, allows you to snowball a lot more effectively off early game kills, gives you that extra bit of damage on every one of your autos, and allows you to really sustain through health-wise the laning phase. I can see an argument for maybe Corrupting Pot, but I do think that in solo queue, it just feels so bad if you base without 1,000 gold or 1,100 gold on your first base, because then you delay your Dirk, another base, which is just more time in which you are not hitting your early game power spikes and able to snowball the game as Jayce. So that's the reason I run Longsword first item. For early game items, you want to be rushing that Dirk. You want to be rushing Dirk, Warhammer, and boots of your choice after completing Ghostblade. I just have the boots here just because I like being in game and being able to select my boots. So beyond just the obvious choices of Dirk and Warhammer, because they build into pretty much every lethality item, the CDR choice, or the boots choice rather, is one that I typically prefer to run the CDR boots in. I think with the build path, as we'll go down here below, with the Ghostblade Stormrazor build path, you do want a little bit of CDR, and I personally like having that amount of CDR if I'm not up against a ton of CC, a ton of AD damage, or a mixture of both. You know what I'm saying? So in games where I am up against a lot of AD champions, I will go those tabbies. If I'm against 3 or 4 very hard CCs that if I just get CC'd once I'll die, I will go the Mercs. But I really, really like running those CDR boots just for the 20% CDR with the Ghostblade and the Stormrazor. The core build, and I guess the bread and butter of Halo Blade's Jayce, is the Stormrazor, right? So it's Ghostblade into Stormrazor into Black Cleaver. I have Last Whisper here because this is just, and Last Whisper and Executioners here just to choose between one of the LDR or one of the Last Whisper options, depending on whether or not they have healing reduction or not. So if they don't have any, or sorry, not healing reduction, healing. So if they have a lot of healing, obviously you want to go to the Mortal Reminder, the Executioners, to prevent that healing. And if they don't have pretty much any sustain, any healing, which is kind of rare, but if they don't, then you should go the LDR for that 35% total armor penetration. Just so much damage with this kind of a build. The reason I run Ghostblade into Stormrazor core is because you can level up your Q first, right, as you should do on Jayce, and get that Dirk spike, get that Warhammer spike, get that Ghostblade spike, so you have all that lethality damage, all that burst damage, and then as you're leveling up your W at around the same time, and you should finish Ghostblade and Stormrazor around level 13, 12, 13, 14, maybe level 10, 11 some games if you're really snowballing, you know what I'm saying? But once you reach this stage of, I guess, Jayce's level progression in terms of his abilities, you have access to Stormrazor, which allows you to crit based upon your attack speed, right? And the way this functions is that with your Halo Blades W, or with your Halo Blades and Hypercharge W, you're able to crit every 0.5 seconds. So there are a lot of combos where you can get 3, maybe even 4 crits in between your abilities through proper auto weaving, which I'll show you again at the end of the video. But this is just so strong. This core, this Ghostblade, Stormrazor Black Cleaver core is just so strong for sustained damage. Whenever your Halo Blades up, you are an actual threat when you get into a range form or auto attack range of them. And the tankiness from the Black Cleaver, the CDR from the Black Cleaver, the movement speed that you get every auto from the Black Cleaver, the movement speed you get every Stormrazor's Edge auto from the Stormrazor, and the Ghostblade active just synergize so well with the runes I was describing earlier, the Celerity and everything like that. So this is definitely the core build for me at the moment. The next part we will go into are the situational items, or as I like to call them, the Chad options. These are just options throughout the game that, beyond your core item build of the Ghostblade, the Stormrazor, the Black Cleaver, the Last Whisper variant, you want these, or maybe even before that, you want these to kind of situationally deal with the enemy's picks and the enemy's composition. So if they have a lot of really hard CC, right, and Mercs aren't just enough, you definitely need to get that QSS or maybe a suppression, something like that. You have to run the QSS, grab that. Stopwatch, really good 600 gold base. You can build it into GA. GA is also a really strong item, but Stopwatch in particular is very good at determining key fights, and for having that bit of, I guess, outplay potential and engage potential for only 600 gold. And it can be the deciding factor in many late game team fights, so it is a situational option. Of course, we have the Hex Drinker here just in case you are up against a lot of magic damage, in which case I would recommend you going Nullifying Orb, just rushing that Hex Drinker, rushing that Maul. But also, if you are building the core build and you just need a little bit more magic resistance, Hex Drinker into Maul can be a very strong option. Death Stance and, or just Death Stance is an option. It's a bit of a luxury item. Really not something you're going to be building in most of your games just because of how expensive it is and how late you'll be building it into your build. However, I do think it is a strong lifesteal option, as it does heal for 15% of all the damage you deal. So very strong item on Jayce. Well, not a very strong item on Jayce, but a stronger item now than it used to be, and still a solid option. Now we have this item, which is Edge of Night. So this is really strong versus compositions where if you just block one of their CCs, or if they just have one CC and very low mobility, you can pop this, run at them with all the movement speed you have from Ghostblade and Celerity and everything, and just pummel them into the ground. It also gives you a decent amount of health, decent amount of AD, decent amount of lethality, a good choice for later, or maybe even a third item if you are snowballing really strong. Same with Dustblade here, a good snowballing item, good, really strong, just damage, raw damage item, and something I can definitely see being optional and a Chad option for Jayce. The last Chad option that I have here is Rapid Fire Cannon. This is only because with the Storm Razor, with the Ghost Blade, with the Hail of Blades, and with Rapid Fire Cannon, you get so much more range and so much more area of effectiveness with your crits, you know what I'm saying, with your auto cancels. So it allows for a little more movement because it does give you movement speed. Allows for a little more crit strike too because it blends with the crit strike of the Storm Razors as well. And it gives you a little more attack speed, just making you feel a little extra crisp. But it doesn't give AD, doesn't give lethality, and is definitely a luxury item for when you're really, really snowballing and really want to flex. So the final point here is, will this change? Will this build change? Yes, this build 100% will change because Storm Razor actually is getting changed, I believe, on the PBE right now and potentially next patch. Same with Essence Reaver. Essence Reaver might actually become an item that we want to look for, so just look out for the next video on this build because this will be updated pretty soon with the coming of the new season. So finally, we're at the combo portion of the video, and now I will begin to explain to you guys why Storm Razor works so well with Hail Blades and with Jayce. So Storm Razor's unique passive is if you haven't attacked in the last 1.79 seconds, you gain Storm's Edge, which allows you to critically strike for 140% damage and gain movement speed over 0.75 seconds. But in the last 1.79 seconds is entirely determined by your attack speed. So right now it says 1.79 seconds. If I press Hypercharge, it says 0.64 seconds. If I have Hypercharge and Hail of Blades active, it says 0.52 seconds, which allows us to weave in the Storm Razor crits to a majority of our already existent Jayce combos. And I'll demonstrate one of those right now. So our standard combo, or not standard combo, but a combo that I really like to do is you click W, right? So you click W, click to cancel that first auto, and with Hail of Blades it just becomes that much faster. So you click, get that first crit, auto, QE auto, Q onto them auto, and then E auto. So that's 4 Storm Razor crits weaved in between Jayce's abilities. That is just insane. That's an insane amount of burst damage that you have access to at level 13 now. Another combo that you can do, and one that you can start from melee form now that you have the Hail of Blades, is that you auto attack once to Q, and then Q afterwards. E auto after that, right? So I'll do that again. Auto Q, E auto. I have to have Hail of Blades active. Auto Q, E auto, auto W, QE auto auto. 4 crits. 4 crits with all of your damage being weaved in between. And obviously I could go through all of the Hail of Blades combos, and I will be going through every single Hail of Blades combo in the next video, but this is just a little introduction, or I guess a little taste of what this build can do with proper canceling and with proper spacing between your autos and your movements. Beyond just the Storm Razor interaction, it does allow you to get off combos from melee form to range form more effectively, from range form to melee form more effectively, and I'll go into those specifics in one of my Mastering Micro videos, where I will be releasing the Mastering Micro for Jayce One Trick Pony, and then I will also be releasing a Mastering Micro for Hail of Blades, which shows every single combo I can find with Hail of Blades, so be sure to stay tuned for that, because that'll be released very soon. I guess that's just the end of the video for now, guys. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for all the support on Reddit. I see you guys on that Summoner School forum. I love you boys. And, you know, just follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, all that good jazz, all that good sauce. And I hope I could help you guys out and give you guys a little insight as to why I run this build, why I run these runes, and why I love Hail of Blades Jayce. So, peace.